doesn't spook the populations in different nations.
But while information coming out of Russia is now under tight control, the same could not be said for the period when the Soviet Union was imploding. And it was during this brief period that Russia's extensive history of extraterrestrial encounters became all but fully exposed.
In the waning days of the Soviet Union, a lot of interesting documents pertaining to UFOs were declassified. For example, the KGB so-called Blue File, 124 pages of information about UFO cases that came to the KGB. It was declassified. We know that most of the documents pertaining to the Setka program, which was the official Soviet top-secret UFO program which existed for 13 years, from 78 to 1991, most of those cases are not available. But the cases that we know about, that I've studied, are enough to make you amazed to no end of what they have discovered and what may be in store.
If the United States and the Soviet Union each experienced decades of extraterrestrial contact and had been secretly sharing their experiences and information with each other, what is their ultimate agenda? As far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, the answers can be found in recently revealed Russian research that is intended to change the human body in order to prepare it to travel the galaxy. Voronezh, Russia, September 27th, 1989. A group of children playing in a park witness a shining ball in the sky that transforms into a disc-shaped craft and lands nearby. They see strange beings emerge from the craft, beings that do not appear to be human. In the days after the encounter, as many as 30 other eyewitnesses corroborate their account.
Many people were out and observed it, children as well as adults. Observers watched a hatch open and two beings come out, a very tall one and a modest-sized one. The tall one was described as rather mechanical looking, but a being that estimates were from 9 to 12 feet tall. The small one looked like a robot. Both were distinguished by very small heads. They began to move about the park. People reacted. One report has a boy in shock. The taller being pointing an apparatus at the boy and freezing him. He was reactivated, so to say, before the craft took off.
This is one of these cases where there are so many witnesses and they have all been interviewed. And they're just all sincere. They all saw something. Some of the witnesses definitely describe those things as artificial looking and mechanical. But we ourselves seem to be moving in that direction. Are we creating ourselves as synthetic beings in the future? And the answer is, we sure may be. That's the way it seems to be going.
If there are extraterrestrial beings visiting Earth, is it possible that they are not biological like us, but have adopted synthetic bodies better suited for traveling the cosmos? And if so, might humanity be forced to do the same in order to travel into deep space? Many scientists believe this to be the case, and there is a growing movement in Russia to take the first steps of this transformation. Moscow, February 2012. Russian billionaire Dmitry Itskov brings together over 50 leading scientists to discuss what he believes is the next step in human evolution: immortality. Through his ambitious project, called the 2045 Initiative, Itskov hopes to create technology that would ultimately upload the human brain into a computer by the year 2045.
The 2045 Initiative really is a call to bring minds together to solve the problem of essentially digitizing a human being. And in that case, you could download it
echoes of the vision of Tsiolkovsky. He told us that he was in contact with extraterrestrial beings. He specifically noted that they were, in fact, light beings. So is it possible that what we are doing is catching up with his vision? That if we create avatar humans, are we in fact then recreating the extraterrestrials who originally connected with him?
Who knows if the Russians could actually achieve this 2045 initiative, but they are thinking about it, and they don't seem to be upset with the process that's planned. The United States, on the other hand, wouldn't even consider such an idea. Doing experiments on a human of transplanting a brain into a robot is probably going to take a lot of approval and a long time for anyone to sign on to that. But is it the same if you were in Russia? Their system of government is a little different, and they might do experiments like that easier than the United States.
In the US and in the West, it is perhaps a long, hard journey to convince people that these things should be done. Maybe we will never convince them. But in Russia, through cosmism, through transhumanism, as the Russians practice it, you're trying to do things that Russians already believe in and aspire to. There's real benefit to the US in making the Russians our partners.
Is it possible that humanity, led by the United States and Russia, is poised to take bold steps into deep space? If so, is this escalation limited to space travel, or might it also include something like a military space force? The White House, June 18th, 2018. At a meeting of the National Space Council, President Donald J. Trump calls on the Pentagon to develop a sixth branch of the United States military, a space force.
I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to establish a space force as the sixth branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement.
The stunning news was followed 10 days later by the announcement that President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin would have a private, behind-closed-doors meeting the following month. Is it possible that these two high-profile events were strategically related?
If both nations are aware that there's an extraterrestrial presence and that it is potentially hostile, then cooperation is the only route to go. It's the only way that we can actually achieve some sort of mutual defense of the planet Earth.
This one-on-one between Trump and Putin may just be the latest in a long line of secret, high-level communications between the world leaders. And it may be that things like the creation of the Space Force show that there's been an escalation. Well, the reason you create a force of any kind is to deal with a threat.